Good evening and welcome back to Prime of Midlife. It is Thursday evening. Today has been a pretty good day, got a lot done at work. And this evening, I've just actually read a thing on social media and I thought it was quite interesting. How true it is, I don't know, but it certainly gave me food for thought. And it was someone who said that their son was a recent graduate from college and was looking for a graduate job, a job using his qualifications. And he had been applying for jobs and hadn't got anywhere. And they were sitting looking through the rejections and they realised that they're all pretty much the same. And best of all in the world, they are all pretty much the same just now because there are email templates. But what they thought, they had this little thing to themselves and they thought, well, if email just means that I get an email template back, why don't I do it differently? So he started applying using Snail mail. And I was like, oh, I quite like that thought. And of course, the thing is with snail mail, yes, you could probably get just a copy and paste of the email template as a letter back to you, but it meant that somebody actually opened and read the letter, passed the letter on to whatever department it had to go to, and it had a better chance of being read. And seemingly it increased the replies, the actual direct replies, and increased his interviews. And that made me think of how often is that happening to us, not just with job hunting, because I know there's a lot, as I've said before, there's a lot on LinkedIn about how people are sending out so many applications, they're getting nothing back or they're getting whatever. And that is quite difficult to deal with. And I'm not for 1 minute thinking that everyone should return to snail mail. However, I do think that possibly if it's something very, very important that you want to make sure it's seen, then possibly snail mail might be something to think of. I mean, as you know, I think snail mail is a good thing. I have written a couple of things to people, but of course there's very few people that you can just write a letter to now because you're in contact with them on social media or emails or whatever on a daily basis, so there's not much to say in a letter that you haven't already said to them. But sometimes it's just nice to have a letter, and I like that thought. But I thought I would come on and say, well, as I say, I don't know how true it is. It could just be one of those social media things. But it did make me think. Now, some jobs that's not going to work with because they're looking to fill it really quickly. And by the time you get mail through and it gets to the right person, they've probably already booked interviews and are looking to have them in the next week or so. But there are some jobs where it's a much longer hiring process and it might be worth a shot. I don't know. But it also makes me think that for certain things, if you're looking to communicate with certain bodies, whether that be legal things that you have to deal with or, some things for schools for the kids or something like that, that sometimes it might be worth, if there's no rush for what you need, might be worth doing snail mail. Especially if here in the UK we have the recorded delivery. So then you have proof that someone received said letter, which you don't particularly have with emails. So yeah, that's my thought for today. As opposed to my previous video where I was like, I think it'd be really good to write letters to people. What about writing official letters? Do we think that's going to make a difference? Maybe, maybe not. But it's certainly worth a thought. So now I'm going to go and have my cup of tea, and I will catch you later.